Welcome to the United States of Small Business, a podcast where the essence of American entrepreneurship is celebrated in every episode. With host John Quick at the helm, join us as we embark on a journey through the heart of the nation, uncovering the inspiring stories of small business owners from coast to coast. Experience the vibrant energy of bustling cities and the serene beauty of small towns, all while discovering how individuals are turning their entrepreneurial dreams into reality, even against the greatest odds. Each episode brings you face to face with the dreamers, creators, and doers who form the economic backbone of our country, all sharing their spirit of innovation and resilience. Whether you are in the early stages of sowing the seeds for your own business, scaling new heights in your current venture, or simply captivated by tales of grit and triumph, you are in the right place. Tune in on platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and beyond. For deeper insights and to connect with the heart and soul of America's main streets, visit UnitedStatesOfSmallBusiness.com. Subscribe to United States of Small Business with host John Quick now and be inspired by the powerful stories of entrepreneurship, community, and the unwavering pursuit of the American dream. Begin your journey of inspiration with us today.
Hello, and welcome back to the United States of Small Business podcast, where we explore the journeys and insights of some of the most innovative minds in the entrepreneur space. I'm your host, John Quick. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Paul Barron, a former math teacher turned entrepreneur powerhouse in the world of digital vertical wall printing. From teaching algebra to pioneering the wall printer, Paul's journey is nothing short of inspiring. Here he shares how he transformed his career and why he's so passionate about bringing wall printing technology to markets across North America and really the world. Get ready to explore this episode as he provides valuable insights, advice, and humor to fellow entrepreneurs. So let's dive in. So without further ado, welcome to the United States of Small Business podcast, Paul.
Thank you, John. I'm happy to be here with you and your audience.
Well, this will be fun hearing about your story. I'm sure it's a fascinating one. Tell us kind of where it all started. I heard that you had left a career in teaching to kind of pursue your entrepreneur dream. Talk to me about that story and how it all started.
Well, John, if you want to go back that far, I'm 72 years old now, and that is what I did when I was 21 outside of graduating college. So we don't necessarily have to do the entire journey, but yes, I did start as a mathematics teacher in high school. It's what I thought I always wanted to be, loved mathematics, still do to some extent, for however it's applied to business or life in general. But after teaching for a couple of years, at the same time, I actually started a sporting goods store in the town where I went to college in New Paltz, New York, about 75 miles north of New York City. And the reason I started that was I put myself through college, in addition to the good graces of my parents' financial support. I strung tennis rackets for the athletic department, and I was captain of the tennis team, and I gained a big following doing that, and I was pretty good at it and enjoyed it. And a friend of mine who was out of work when I graduated college, who I played tennis with, we got together and I said, well, listen, I think this town needs a little sporting goods store. It had none. And I thought, why don't you run the store? I'll help with some of the finances and I'll string the tennis rackets as I always did. I'll do it in the evenings, but I'm working during the day. So fast forwarding 3 years, I enjoyed teaching. I was up for tenure. I spent a lot of time, probably one day a week at my store, because I really got into the whole business aspect, customer relationships and finances, vendors, all that stuff that goes along with owning a business. And my department chairman said, Paul, listen, we know you have an outside interest. It seems to be taking a lot of your time. We want to give you tenure, but you really have to make a choice between business or teaching. And so I made a choice. I went to the business and I retired from teaching after my third year. And then from there, I built that to 3 tennis stores. I sold out to my partner, still good relationship and everything, but I was then hired by a gentleman on Long Island who ran a jewelry firm, a manufacturing firm. It was kind of related to a family business. My mother was the bookkeeper for that company for about 35 years until she retired. And he wanted me to come on board as a salesperson because he liked what he saw that I did with my own business. And he offered me the proverbial offer I couldn't refuse financially. So at the age of like 25, I moved back to Long Island and did that for a couple of years. and did very well for the company, learned a lot about manufacturing, distribution, did a lot of traveling, customers, sales, etc., deliveries, all of that kind of stuff that goes along with the manufacturing and distribution business. And then one day, when I was doing very well financially, and I was very happy with the job, but I went into my boss and I said, listen, I think I'm doing a really good job, but I think I'm due for a raise. And he said to me something, John, which I'll tell you and your audience, because I tell this to all my employees very sincerely for the next 50 years or so that I've been in business. He said to me, Paul, he says, you're doing a great job. You're doing well for this company. And I said, I want you to know I will always pay you more than anybody else will. But you will never make what you think you're worth unless you own your own business and are taking the risks that accompany that. And I took that to heart. And I quit. And basically, I went out and I became an independent sales rep for a competitor of his, who's also a customer of mine, but also somewhat of a competitor. And I did very well. I made twice the money, working half the time, but doing it as an independent contractor. And that became really what I did moving forward. In between the next 50 years, I know we don't have much time for a career like this, but suffice to say, I went back and forth working for companies, trying to learn the things I did not know about, and then going off to own my own business for something that excited me at the time. But for the most part, for about the last 40 years, I developed a reputation as being somebody who could take a company's products outside of this country, international companies' manufactured products or software, hardware, consumer packaged goods, or whatever, and then articulate that to the American audience and help them find their customers, vendors, strategic relationships, help the company with revenue growth. And I did very well for myself as an independent contractor, basically working on commission. But I retired a couple of times because I always saw things in the products or companies that I would like to improve, and I had no control over it. And so I became disillusioned, or I just got bored. And so I retired. And about 5 years ago, and of course, I'm missing a lot of stuff that went on in the between. I will say that I opened a restaurant business. I developed a software product, and that was a home run. I developed and sold that company. The restaurant business, I made a lot in 12 years in the restaurant business in New York. I lost it all in 1 year in Florida. That was a learning experience. Again, my ride was not the proverbial hockey stick. It had its ups, it had its downs. And I guess the saying is true. It's not how many times you fall down, it's how many you get up. And so, an entrepreneur has to be ready for both sides of that coin. But for the past 30, 40 years, I was doing this independent contracting sales commission type business. I did a software company from Russia. Still wonderful relationship, politics aside today, wonderful people. I think every country in the world. Today, my business represents and is partners with a Chinese manufacturer. So forget about politics. People generally are wonderful. And if you can do business with them, do business with them. And, just go in with your eyes wide open. Without saying more about that, the Russian company's software was a wonderful experience, lasted about 12 years. Did very well for the company, pretty much all I could do for them, launching their products into the United States. Then I was approached by an Israeli company with a media communications product, a baby bottle manufacturer from Austria, a self-service dog wash system from Australia, a Chinese headphone company from China. And I helped all these companies, again, as a commission salesperson. I retired 6, 7 years ago and said, enough of that. But I'm always looking. I'm always restless. Typically, I say to my wife, when I find something interesting to me, I'll call her from my home office and I'll say, honey, come on in, take a look at this. Invariably, she does not come take a look at this. She hides cuts up my credit cards and changes the passwords on the bank account because she goes, here we go, Paul's going to invest in something nuts again. This time she took a look at this vertical printing machine. I was actually introduced to it by another company that wanted me to represent them, a German company that is now a competitor of mine. Quality product, no disrespect to anybody in your audience with German heritage. I drive a BMW. I value a well-engineered German product or any product. But just because something says made in Germany, made in Austria, made in the United States, just because it says that doesn't mean it should be worth twice what its value really might be. And so this company approached me to do just what all these other companies did. They wanted me to launch their product from Germany into the United States. I looked at it and I said, boy, that's really interesting. A vertical printing machine prints artwork on walls, indoors, outdoors, any surface, any size. I said, I've never seen anything like that. That's pretty cool. I said, how much do you want for your company? And so they said, no, Paul, we're not interested in selling the company. We just want you to work as a salesperson. I said, well, I don't do that anymore, but this is really interesting. Can we work out some type of an agreement? And so basically, after a couple of meetings, the answer was no. They would not go with the terms that I proposed, but I love the product. And so I said, boy, why have I never seen anything like this? And that's the first thing that has to get my attention, that it is something unique. Of course, I think of myself as a normal capitalist and consumer. If I see something that has value, I think maybe there's somebody else with the same feeling and the same perception of something. And so what I did was I did my homework. Same thing I ask all my customers to do today. Look and see what's out there. There were only 4 other companies in the world, with the German company 5, and that manufactured this type of technology. 3 I dismissed right away, 1 Chinese company, 1 Australian company, and 1 Indian company. They were low quality products with no real development and engineering behind it. The German product was a quality product, very cool design, but it lacked some of the features. The more I learned about it, the more I wanted to see in the product to make it a real business for other people. Because my goal wasn't just to sell this product and make money, it was to create new entrepreneurs, create new business opportunities for other people. If I can make other people do well, I'll do well. So with that in mind, the originator of the technology was a Chinese company. And I love their technology. I sent somebody to China because I don't like traveling too much. Unless there's a beach there, maybe I'll travel, but I wasn't ready to go to Beijing. And so I have a company that represents me that checks out other companies I might be interested in. They went there, it ticked all the right boxes. It wasn't a company working out of their garage. They could produce 50 printers a month, which is what I needed, a company that was substantial. They had the engineering and all that stuff. So we started our courtship. And it took about a year for us to come to the right terms where I actually bought into the company. Today, 4 years into it, I'm a co-owner on some patents. We invented a couple of new products together. We have a floor printer as well as a wall printer. I consider this the best product in the world like it. The German product is still in the marketplace. We've pretty much blown them out of the water. We have about 170 customers today after 4 years. And again, every customer we get is putting a new business in place or adding revenue to an existing business, like a painter or a photographer or somebody who wants to add art to their existing business products or services. It's a wonderful product. I've got a great team that I built up. Everybody shares in it. That's the way I do business. Everybody's a partner, so to speak, not stock options like a lot of companies do, which are generally wallpaper after a while. But everybody shares in the revenue that this company earns. It's just a very nice ride that I'm enjoying. As I said early on, I'm 72 years old, so it's probably my last hurrah. But an example of my work today is behind me on my wall. My office staff wasn't nice enough to give me a window in my office, so I had to wall paint one. That's a 5-foot by 8-foot wall painting. It has about $20 worth of ink in it. Takes about 2 hours for our machine to print that. Prints at 20 square feet per hour, and it prints, as I said, all over the place. Again, I'm not trying to make this, as I said to you early on in our pre-introduction, this isn't a sales pitch for my company. It's just, describing the journey and what interests me along the road. Don't know how much time we have left, but please feel free to ask me anything.
That's awesome. Well, sounds like you've had quite the journey. For folks listening in that maybe don't have the video version of this, explain to us, it seems a little self-explanatory, but explain to folks what is the wall? What is a wall printer? People are assuming it prints things on the wall, but I bet there's a little more intricate detail that goes into it. And my guess is that it's a very large printer. So give us the 30,000 foot view on what this wall printer is and does.
Yeah, thanks, John. You're absolutely right in the question you asked, which leads to exactly what this is. So the way I describe it is it's an inkjet printer on steroids. It is not your $100 desktop printer. It's a $35,000 machine. That's a commercial quality machine to be used day in and day out, like a race car. The more they're used, the better they perform because they have inks running through them. And if you don't use them or don't maintain them, it could cause issues with the machine. But with proper maintenance that we teach and train people how to do, and with people actually using it and making money using it, then it'll perform beautifully day in and day out for 10, 12 years or more. My business, my factory has been in business 14 years. Every machine they've sold, about 800 of them, are still in service today. As I said, we've reached a goal of about 170 today. Our next landmark will be 250 customers, which hopefully we'll achieve in a year or two. But the printer prints beautiful artwork, vector images, which if your audience doesn't know, vector image is a digital image, which means that it could be enlarged to any size at all and still look beautiful. For example, somebody comes to you with a picture of their dog or their family, and they want that on the wall in their den or in some wall in their house. Well, it looks beautiful on your phone. The JPEG, which is the JPG extension of normal pictures you take with a phone or a camera, those pictures will enlarge just a little bit. Afterwards, if you zoom in on them, they look all what's called pixelated, and it looks horrible. And that's what any normal JPEG picture will do. It will only enlarge a certain amount. A vector image is an image that will enlarge to any size at all and still look crisp and beautiful. That's what our printers want. So there is opportunity for people with graphics expertise or people who will partner with a local graphics person to make more money when somebody comes to you with that picture of a dog. But they want it to become a vector image. It's possible to do that with some talent with Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, the tools of the trade of the graphics artist. Or somebody it's very easy to get vector images. You can go online these days and just say, I want vector images of horses running on a beach, and you'll get thousands of vector images of the quality that our printer wants. And then all you do is put that image on a USB stick, put that USB stick in the USB port, and then the software that's in our printers, which we train people on, very easily imports the image. You position the printer next to a wall, and it begins printing. And it'll print any size at all. Even though the printer itself is designed to print anywhere from 5.5 to 9 foot height images, just think of a window washer on a skyscraper. You erect scaffolding, you lift the printer up just like a window washer would go to each level of that building, and you could stitch the images, we call it, one image on top of another image, where you can get a 50-foot mural on the outside of a building, doing it by breaking up the image into smaller pieces and putting them together. There's no limit to what you can do with it. The customers of my customers, because we don't provide the services, we just make sure the machines work for our customers day in and day out with training, ink, supplies, parts, etc. But their customers are going to be people's residences, offices, restaurants, medical offices, schools, universities, any place where there's signage, because the printers don't have to print just artwork. They could print very fine text for signage purposes. You could print on things. You don't have to print directly to a wall. You could lay down a piece of vinyl or wood or sheet metal or plastic or tile and print on that, or a tabletop. There's all sorts of ways that you could use this printer. It's basically a printer. And if you could come up with a surface, any surface at all, it'll print on glass, metal, wood, tile, wallboard. My office is cinder block, which is my warehouse here. And you could see, if you have video, apologies to those that don't, but if you were looking at this, you'd see a lot of rough textures where all the cinder blocks come together and the concrete mortar is put in there. Our printer does not need a smooth wall. It just needs a flat wall. It'll spray ink into all those crevices and still make a beautiful image like you see behind me. So that's basically the short version of the technical aspects and who our customers are and how they would benefit by something like this.
That's pretty cool. So, you've done a little bit of everything, it sounds like, starting with a customer focused business back in the day, owning a sporting goods store. I think a lot of folks today, they want to open an online store and become a millionaire in a week. What kind of advice would you give to folks that are maybe just starting out in their entrepreneur journey and maybe don't realize that it's mostly a marathon, not a quick sprint?
Absolutely, and I'll give you and your audience the same advice I gave people when I traded commodities for a living. And somebody would come to me and say, "Hey, Paul, I'd like to be involved in this commodities business and make money." I said, "How can I make a large fortune in commodities?" Or said, "I'm not greedy. How can I make a small fortune in commodities?" And I said, "Well, you want to make a small fortune? Start with a large fortune, because invariably you're going to lose. But it's just like betting in a casino against a house. But yes, if you put in hard work and you have a product that is a genuine solution to a problem, don't go chasing problems. To me, I found this particular solution because there are very few ways to put art on walls: vinyl stickers, a muralist hand painting something, wallpaper, a framed picture. Very few ways to put art on walls. That's why this seemed appealing to me, because it would be appealing to others. And that's basically, you have to have some kind of a solution to a real problem. The dog wash company, self-service dog wash, we're dog people. My wife and I weren't able to have the two-legged variety of children, so we have four-legged. And washing them in the house looked like a bomb went off every time we gave them a bath, or it was very expensive to go to a groomer to do that. And so this self-service dog wash system that I ended up importing from Australia was $10 for 10 minutes. It was like your self-service car wash, but for dogs. And it was an interesting product. Unfortunately, I did too well with that product, and I introduced it to a US manufacturer that loved it so much that they bought the company, and that put me out of a job, and I couldn't realize my vision for the company, which again is another reason I wanted control, and I wanted to be an owner, not just an employee or a commission salesperson for something. But yeah, the only advice I can give is, just, be passionate about what you're doing. Jimmy Buffett, of all people, I think he's definitely a good model for what an entrepreneur is. He had very little musical talent, very little songwriting talent, but yet he was able to put together something to make an unbelievable career that spanned not only music, but restaurants and products and everything else. And he said, if you're going to want to be in business, if you think you're an entrepreneur, just remember it's 10% talent, 20% luck, 30% hard work and effort, and 40% passion. That's the ingredients to any successful business, in my opinion. And it really starts with the passion for something. All the other stuff, talent, luck, work, yes, you need investment, you need treasure. I call it, my expression for being in business is, you need the 3 T's: time, talent, and treasure. You need the time to do something, you need the talent to actually pull it off, and whether it be yours or somebody else's that you enlist, and then you need the treasure, because everything costs money, even just to survive while your business is coming together, to feed your family, feed yourself, etc. So you need all those things as well. But it's a nice ride, and it's not for everybody. You have to be willing to take the risk. With risk, there are rewards, but with risk, there's risk, the risk of failure too, which I don't like to use that word. I call all of my lesser financial successes just that, lesser financial successes, not failures, because usually that road will take you somewhere else. And then, of course, relationships.
Nice lesson.
It's all about relationships. That's really, I found early on the hats I liked to wear and the ones I didn't like to wear. I was really good with relationships with people. I value the relationships I have. I'm still best friends with the people that I grew up with from grade school. For 70 years, I talked to some of them every single day. It's the most important thing in anybody's life, business or personal, that the relationships you build. And then, of course, in business or even personally, be nice to the people you see on the way up, because they're the same people you're going to see on the way down. And so if you could sleep well at night because you haven't done anything to hurt somebody, you're probably ahead of the game, and you're on your way to some type of success, whether it be in business or not.
Nice. Well, I appreciate the advice, Paul. I think the folks listening in will appreciate it as well. 25 minutes has gone by in a flash. I know that people are going to be wondering to themselves, where can I find more information about this wall printer? It sounds awesome. So tell folks where they can find all your information at, websites, social media, all that kind of
Yeah,
how they can get.
really quickly, John, because I understand, I appreciate the time you've given me, and I hope it was beneficial. But again, this wasn't a sales pitch for the wall printer. But if you think this is something you'd like to know more about, or just find out about it, you can easily go to our website, thewallprinter.com, and you can fill out a short contact form, and we'll be happy to communicate all the information about this particular business opportunity. It's not a franchise. It is a business opportunity that provides printers and exclusive territory to people to build this business, because we know it's new and we want people that raise their hands first and take the risk to be the ones we support. And if you just want to connect with me, I always enjoy talking to people. As I said, relationships is really what it's about. LinkedIn is a good way to reach out to me. Paul Barron is my name. I'm sure you could find me if you just search that on LinkedIn. And if you want to connect, I'd be happy to do that and chat with you or communicate on whatever it is you'd like to talk about.
Awesome. Well, Paul, we wish you nothing but success here from the United States of Small Business Podcast, folks. We'll put all the links in the podcast description so you can go check them out. And man, I want to encourage folks, if you just got the tail end here, to go listen to the whole thing. Paul walks us through the journey of his entrepreneur life and shed some light on some really great business advice that he's learned along the way, and culminates that with a really unique, fun, and interesting business that he's currently venturing in, and how to get a hold of him if folks are interested to hear more. So, Paul, it's been great and fascinating hearing your story. Folks, we hope that you have a blessed rest of the week. And man, I can't wait for the sun to be shining and spring to be fully here, man. And
thank you, John. Thank you very much. I enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, we hope everybody has a phenomenal week. Until next time, I'm John Quick from the United States of Small Business Podcast. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us.